Hey y'all, Amber here. Yet another character information video. Yay! I'm staying in this family or connection for the moment, apparently. 2 weeks ago, I did her daughter, Vanessa. You can see the card somewhere around here. Well, Vanessa's one of her 2 daughters. And last week was Vanessa's pet, Christopher. If I have the patience, next week might be this lady's other daughter, Ashley. Anyway, her name is Syraene Encrae. She's a dark elf. She's part of the Order of the Sand, which is a group of souls that work under Kronos and governs / protects / maintains the dream realm. Oh, and she's dead. Now, I'm going to give you guys a heads up. This one might be a bit harsh to hear. I'm not entirely sure, so just keep that in mind. She was assaulted by humans, and that is what led to her daughter Ashley's birth, if you follow. Vanessa was 6 at the time and had also been assaulted, but not in the same way. She was just abused. Beaten up and whatnot. Syraene, on the other hand, they went farther. Most dark elves would have merely terminated the half-breed babe or just killed it upon birth. But Syraene honestly believed her daughter's life was actually worth preserving. So, she was forced to leave before Ashley's birth. She was extremely pregnant, about a month before quote-unquote popping, and knew that if she didn't leave before her child was born, that it would not go well. The other dark elves would kill her child. Sadly, being out in the wild with her 6-year-old daughter while very pregnant was most certainly not fun. In fact, this whole event, Syraene would later learn, is a big part of why Vanessa grew to hate humans to such an immeasurable degree. You'd think what did happen next would have affected her, helped Vanessa not to be such a bitch later, but there was no changing that, unfortunately. It was certainly not quick, but the pair survived in the forest as best they could for a couple of weeks. Eventually, Syraene's mobility decreased to the point where navigating through the forest was far too much of a task. Vanessa, realizing her mother needed help, left to try and find said help. She didn't want to find a human, but she'd take what she could at the moment, even if they weren't human. And she did find someone. His name was Vincent Remington, and there will be a video at some point on him in the future, and took him back to where she'd left her mother. Vincent did a lot. Not only did he make sure that the pair of them were well fed, but he also helped them with a place to live. It was enough that he did that, but at the same time, he went even farther. He helped with the actual birthing of the baby that Syraene named Ashley Primrose Encrae. As I said, I might do a video of her next. I'm not sure. Depends on how determined I am to do her. She's covered in a bunch of scales. There were no issues with the birth, and Vincent did all he could to help with both girls. It didn't take long, at all, before Syraene and Vincent found themselves becoming extremely close friends. Yet it never did progress past that. Vincent was still hurting from losing his wife, and Syraene was hesitant due to the whole elf and human thing. She knew that her daughters would have a hard enough time due to Syraene's quote-unquote relations with humans, and she really did not want to make it any more difficult. In the end, they were close friends, and Vincent was the one who found Syraene as she was on the edge of death. Syraene had been murdered by a band of no-good humans. When word reached Vanessa, she makes it a point to hunt out those that killed her mother and use them in her experiments, as she knew that it would be rather torturous for them. That is what truly awoke her hatred for humans. Vanessa had always hated them, but the murder of her mother really pushed her over the edge. And Syraene could do nothing but watch and hope that maybe influencing her daughter's dreams would help, as she now had that capability. When Syraene had died, before she could move on to wherever she was to go, and she was sure she'd be going down, she was approached by another soul. They told her that they had been waiting for her to die to make her an offer. they could have properly revived her. But Syraene turned that down. Her body was, most definitely, far too beaten and battered for that. But she did accept the position, the offer to become part of the Order of the Sand. It was a way for her to watch over her children and continue to do something, as she was worried about being bored in whatever afterlife she ended up in. She was still just a soul, a spirit, with no physical or corporeal form, but at least she could watch her girls. When she wasn't working, of course. She took her new position and the responsibilities rather seriously, but still broke away every chance she got. And it did not take long, at all, for her to learn that Vanessa was traveling down a very dark path, and there was nothing that could be done about it. While Syraene had been alive, Vanessa had kept her experimentation and studies above board, but as soon as the elf was dead, her focus and studies changed. It honestly seemed to be near instant. And it made Syraene wonder if Vanessa had anything to do with it. The nightmares that her daughter suffered due to it, however, gave her enough reason to believe in her innocence, in regards to her death at least. There didn't seem to be anything else for her. Let's try that again. There didn't seem to be anything else for her to be innocent, though, and Syraene hated it. She hated seeing what Vanessa was turning into, and how she was doing it. As she knew Ashley became a test subject, thanks to Vanessa using her mana on her half-human sister, she realized that her daughter wasn't anyone that could be saved. The only thing that could be done to stop her was her death. Vanessa had to die, and no parent liked to realize that. She may not have been too fond of her daughter, but that didn't mean that she wanted to see her dead. She may not love her daughter, but no mother truly wished death upon her child. In order to try and help someone, anyone, stop Vanessa in any way, Syraene started studying the history books that only the dead could access. In doing so, she found that there was a specific person that would be rather integral later, because it would be her son that would deal the killing blow. Oh, right. So, she started haunting an old friend. This is admittedly a couple years after her death. To say that it caught Vincent by surprise would be one hell of an understatement. He was most certainly shocked and surprised when he has an actual conversation with her in his dreams. A conversation where she asks if he has any idea about some sort of doll that she can possess, so that she can continue to be on this plane with him. After he was able to move past the shock of seeing his dead friend again, Vincent was able to obtain a relic from the council, one that was meant specifically for possession via a soul for her. It was a 2.75-foot tall, ball-jointed porcelain doll. Eventually, Syraene ends up breaking the doll, and she's not even sure how she managed to do that. So she handles it, she tries to fix the doll, but finds it's too difficult a task, and decides to just take care with all of her future movements. At some point in the future, Syraene, in the doll, finds herself as a confidant to a small mage girl. They grew close, with Syraene walking and talking and playing with her. She told the little girl that her name was Serenity, and as a result, it ended up becoming the doll's name. Not that Syraene had an issue with the name. The normally brash elf was far more nice, kind, and serene when she was possessing the doll. She stayed in that family, passed from generation to generation, helping in any and every way she could. Well, she stayed with that family until she was stolen from the child. When that happened, she still didn't have the best doll body, as it had been effectively beaten up over the years. After being stolen, she found herself most certainly incapable of moving. She was found abandoned in a box by the side of the road by a rather punky lawyer named Kaylin. Sure enough, Kaylin took her in, and as she had always been one to test new things, and she thought she might enjoy trying it, she opted to try to repair the doll. And she managed to. Not perfect, not by any means, but at least she was able to decrease a multitude of the cracks, give Serenity her mobility back. Now, when Kaylin first saw that she was alive, there was definite surprise and shock. I'm pretty sure anybody would have surprise and shock if a porcelain doll just suddenly started talking to them. However, Kaylin listened to her story, her history. Well, what she was willing to share, anyway. I think I'm done. This is something that isn't entirely solid. Her story has changed before, so it most certainly can change again. At any rate, I hope that you enjoyed the video and the character description. I won't keep yammering on because that can be so boring, so I'll leave it here. Thanks for stopping by and watching. Next week, I think, if not Ashley, will most likely be another review thread. If you want to see more art with this lady, let me know. Because if there's an interest, I'll gladly draw her more. I absolutely love this girl. Even if she's dead. Regardless, I'm going to let you be. This is Amber out. I'll catch you on the flip side.